Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. Today's episode is all about getting ready for springtime, and I have 4 beautiful spring DIYs that are all brand new to share with you today. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. If you like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up, but let's go make some DIYs. I found this darling milk can at Dollar Tree. It was $3. It was at Christmas time. I'm hoping they have them for other seasons, but I wanted to give this a makeover, and so I tried to sand the letters off of there, but I quickly realized that this was like a raised vinyl sticker that was on there. So I just used my putty knife and my heat tool on some of those hard to get areas, and I was able to scrape off very nice and easy. It gives you a nice clean surface to work with, which is nice because I thought this was like embossed in the tin, but it wasn't. So once you get that off, you've got a nice blank surface to work with. Now, I wanted to make this kind of Eastery or spring-like, so at first I had these little printouts that I had made. I can leave a link to those graphics down below. So I start out using one of those, but I'll show you why I changed my mind here. But this is just a pie crust mold from the baking section at my craft store, and I loved it because I thought I could make some air dry clay or resin trim. So I'm going to try it out. I just put some cornstarch in my mold, and this is just some of the just regular air dry clay. You can pick this up at any craft store. Sometimes Dollar Tree even has it. But I just roll it out into a long kind of worm shape there that will fit, and I can just press it down into the mold, making sure that all of my clay gets down into all of the little surfaces. I just use my putty knife to scrape off any excess clay along the back. You can see there, and then I will just go through, make sure my clay is still pushed down into all the areas, and then smooth it out. And then I just flip the mold over, and using gravity, this is when using cornstarch really comes in handy, is it helps your clay pop right out of there. You can see how that came right out. And look at how cute this is. This is kind of what I was going for at first here, was making a little oval shape or an egg shape to kind of go over this design. So I did Mod Podge that design down onto my surface. And then using some glue, I'm just going to glue on the trim right around, kind of encasing that little design. You want to do this while your clay is still wet. That way you're able to manipulate it and kind of get it into the spots that you want. Now with my design, I needed a couple extra little pieces of the trim there. So I'm just cutting it down to size and fitting it in. So this is what it looks like here. This is after it sat for a minute. I kept looking at it, and I didn't know that I absolutely loved that design in there. I think I could do a different project, so my mind is kind of thinking what else I could do. So I'm going to get these other 2 little areas on here of this trim. It's kind of like a braided trim. Maybe it's lattice, I don't know. Anyhow, I'm just going to do the same process as I did with the little beaded trim. Just press my clay down into there, and I'm going to make another little area of trim to go around the rim of the milk can. You can see that I have a little bit of a space inside, or where my clay separated there. I just kind of will press it together. I add a little bit of clay to it to make it so it's a little bit thicker in that area. So hopefully I don't have any issues with breakage there. But I just want to go ahead and smooth everything out along the back. Now flipping over my mold and kind of bending it back, I did use the cornstarch to help this kind of fall out. And you can see as I bend this back, it does just kind of fall right out. Now I do have a little area you saw that kind of broke apart in the middle there. I will just kind of press that together. You could even use like a mister bottle of water to kind of spray to adhere it. Where I'm gluing this all down onto my surface, it's not going to be a huge issue. I am just using some wood glue. It is what I had on hand. I know some people will use, I believe Tight Bond is what it's called. If you have a preference when you're working with air dry clay of a type of glue, let me know down in the comments. But if you happen to have wood glue and that's what you've got on hand, it seems to work well. So I think you would be just fine. So I'm just going to lay this down around the rim of my milk can. I do set it upside down to help gravity so it doesn't slip down or anything. Now, after this had completely dried, I went in and painted it. I decided I did not love the picture in the middle. It just looked off to me. So I painted the entire can this eucalyptus color, it's almost like a duck egg color as well. And I'm going to change the picture in the middle. Now, there was tissue paper that I had laid down there, and you can kind of see wrinkles from the tissue paper, which work really well with the design when I put some wax on this to kind of de-stress it. So I don't mind that. I just kind of had to embrace it and go with it at this point. I think it looks great. You'll have to let me know what you think. But sometimes you change your mind with projects, or you're just not feeling what it looks like, and you just kind of have to pivot and just kind of move forward. Now, I got these stamps at Dollar Tree. They're beautiful. They're perfect for spring. I love birds, and I love using them in my springtime crafts. So I'm just going to use these stamps and this ink to put a design here. I just think this turns out so cute and vintage. And then it has the word beautiful. Maybe not my first choice of words, but it's what I had a stamp for, and it fit in there. And so I went ahead and stamped that there as well. Now, to distress this a little bit, because you know that that's my jam here, so if you don't love distressing, you probably will skip this step, but this is just going to give a nice aged look to the milk can, and I loved the look of the white wax on it. I felt like that's going to bring all of those raised areas. It's going to make them all have some depth and characterization to them. I put the wax all over the entire can, including just making sure it got in all the nooks and crannies of that trim that I put on, and then just wiped it back with a baby wipe. I am really pleased with how this turned out. I think it's so beautiful. It's perfect to put a little plant in like this. You could even put like a little bird nest on the top with some eggs, or even a cute little bird on it. I think that would tie that little bird on the front of it in. I just think this is so sweet and perfect for spring. What do you guys think of this? Do you like this? I think the techniques that were used in making this milk can, you could definitely use throughout any season for any style in your home. I love a good tag in my decor, and it's so fun to make them over. Now, these are just several different options. Some are Hobby Lobby clearance, some are Dollar General, some are Dollar Tree. This one was thrifted from my local thrift store, and it's actually the one that I'm going to use. I love the shape of it, and I just think it's going to be really, really cute. But you have a lot of options when it comes to tags. You can find the shape anywhere. You could even cut your own out. Now, mine had this adorable little gnome that was more for like fall or Halloween time on it. I carefully took him off because maybe I can use him in something else, I don't know. But I definitely want to use this little circular like washer shape on it. Now, it was pretty grungy, so I had to kind of scrub it and clean it and sand it all down. And I wanted to find a design to put on here. So I have these little labels that I purchased off of Etsy last year. I made my mom some dish towels for her kitchen with them on. And I really thought it would be cute to do one of those. And I found a darling one with some oranges and a cute little bird on there. And I just feel like bringing birds into my spring decor are a way that I can really keep that spring feel. Now, I just taped some tissue paper down to a regular piece of printer paper. I put this through my inkjet printer with the design. I had measured it so I knew how big I needed to make it in my software, and I'm just going to cut it down, all of the excess edges off of it. Now, I took a little piece of cardstock or just like a little packaging that I cut out to be the exact same shape as my design because I want to put some stamps down, but I don't want the stamps to show behind my design. So I'll kind of show you what I'm doing here. I'm just going to take, you can see my blank square there. This is kind of like a mask or a shield. And I'm just taping it down with some Scotch tape. And I'm going to put some stamped designs around here. So that way when I take off that square piece, it's going to be completely like blank in that area. If that doesn't make any sense, just keep watching. I promise you'll see exactly what I'm doing. So I remove my stamp here, and just be careful when you're using stamps and you have a mask or shield like this that you're making sure to push down really well on the area right around the edge of your mask. That way you can get your stamp design right up to the edge. So I'm using a couple of different bird shapes and a couple of different floral shapes on here. And I just go around, and there's no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just seeing where there's an open space, where it looks good, using like half a little bit of a design on a corner or an edge. I wanted this to almost look like toile or a stencil or something, just kind of a fun little background. These bird stamps came from Dollar Tree, and they're some of my favorite. I absolutely love them. You can see I will use the little stamping block with some of them. Some of them I just do with my hand. Now I wanted this to be a little bit faded because that black ink is a little harsh. So after the ink is completely dry, I just sand a little bit of it with my fingernail file. Now this is just a little finger dauber that I picked up at Hobby Lobby with some antiquing wax. I'm going to go around the edge here. The edge has been sanded, and so it really soaks in this antiquing wax, giving it a little bit of definition. I made sure to do the sides as well because I think eventually I'll put another design on the back of this so it could be a dual purpose DIY, but I just wanted to make sure that from the side angles that you saw, it was all cohesive. Now to get my tissue paper design down, I'm just putting some Mod Podge down in that blank area, and then I will let that completely dry. Now while the Mod Podge is drying, I'm just going to put a little bit of antiquing wax on that little washer. I think that is such a fun element to have. If you don't have like a little wood cutout one like I have, an actual washer I think would be really cute on there. Now I'm going to set my design down over that square that's completely blank because this tissue paper is really thin. So if I had put that stamp all over, it would have really kind of muddled up that design there. So I just wanted to make sure that was totally blank behind that. Now I'm putting some parchment paper over that tissue paper and just using my mini press to reactivate that Mod Podge, and that's going to get your design on there beautifully, no wrinkles or anything. To seal it all in, I'll just go over with a little bit of Mod Podge and just lightly going over, making sure that this is sealing my ink in as well as covering and sealing in that tissue paper. Just using a little bit of hot glue, I'll go ahead and attach that washer right over the hole. Now I have some thicker twine here. I really like the look of the thicker twine with this thicker chunky tag. I felt like it looked really nice with that. I also thought maybe a couple of beads might look nice on it. So since it was thicker twine, I stuck some needle nose pliers inside of my beads and kind of just pounded them a little bit. That way I could make sure that I had an opening big enough that I could fit that twine through there. And I did have to use my pliers to kind of pull it through. It took a little bit of time to get this, but I really think it was worth it. I think those beads really do make this look so cute. It's the little touches that make things look so nice and upscaled. I'm just tying a knot in the top here, making sure that it's really tight, and then I'll just cut my edges down. I always take my fingernail and kind of break apart those edges so it doesn't look so crisp and clean. It looks like it's been around for a minute or two. Here's the tag all complete. I think this is such a perfect piece of decor. I think it is very springtime, but it is also something that could stay out all year long. But I really feel like on a tiered tray or on a shelf as a shelf sitter would be so cute and such a fun piece of decor. Even making items like this to sell, I think these would be good sellers. I just really think this turned out so pretty and elegant. What do you guys think of this? Did you guys like how it turned out? You'll have to let me know down in the comments if you like decorating with tags or not. I think they're so fun and such a little versatility that you have to make them for different seasons and different times. I just really love them. I have these styrofoam eggs and I thought it would be really fun to make some egg topiaries. Now I'm just showing you that there's all sorts of different sizes that you can come up with. This yellow one came from Dollar Tree. It had some beads all over it and glitter, so I just kind of sanded it off. My other ones came from the craft store, but anyway, you can get your hands on some different sizes of eggs will be great for this DIY. I want to make some egg topiaries. I thought this would be so fun. I made a moss egg in one of my last videos. You guys loved it, so this was just kind of taking it and doing something a little different. So each of these eggs is just getting a coat of sage green chalk paint. That is just so you don't see any of the styrofoam underneath the moss after we glue that onto each of these. It's just such a necessary step. Now this is just some reindeer moss. You can pick this up at Dollar Tree or any floral section of a craft store. I'm just going to cut mine into some little pieces. And as I was doing that, it was super, super dry, which happens sometimes. Reindeer moss has kind of a buoyancy to it, like kind of spongy feel. And sometimes if it's crisp, you just need to mist it a little bit with your mister bottle. You don't want to totally saturate it, but it's going to kind of alleviate that crunchiness and give you that nice bouncy feeling that the reindeer moss is supposed to have. After I do that, I'm just going to chop this up into such little teeny pieces and then just start gluing it on. This is a little bit time consuming, but it is such an easy project to do. It does use a little bit of hot glue, so just make sure you've got like a nice fresh pack of hot glue sticks when you're doing this. But you're just going to work in sections, putting some glue onto your egg and then just kind of bouncing it down into your reindeer moss. Just be really careful when using your hands that you're not going to burn them because that hot glue can kind of seep through that reindeer moss. So just make sure when you go to kind of push things down with your hand, you've let it maybe sit for a minute or two, and that way you're not going to get the super hot glue. So you can see just working in sections. I'll just fill in a little section and then kind of fill it in with the glue. And then I'll just bounce that down into, and it picks it right up. So you just want to continue this step with all of the eggs until they're completely covered in moss. Sometimes you may need to take a little bit of time and do a little bit of like trimming on your egg, like give it a little bit of a haircut. It starts to look kind of shaggy. And so I just take my scissors and just kind of working from the base along the shape of the egg, just kind of work my way up to the top. It just depends on how like organic you want these or how shaggy you want them. I'm just taking a couple of terracotta pots and just dry brushing some white paint to brighten them up. I like the way that looks. That kind of matches my decor, but whatever pots you had would work fine. Now I am just putting a dowel into the egg here. That's what I'm going to use. I did put some pool noodles or styrofoam, whatever you have, use that in the base of your pot. And then a dowel is what I'm using to kind of glue that down in and get that stuck down into that. Now you can see those little sticks I have in the center of my screen. That was a bunch of grapevine sticks that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to try and make these look like they are the trunks of like the little topiary, little branches. So hopefully it turns out really good. I actually like the way it ends up looking, but you could just use just a simple dowel painted or a stick from your yard or something. Make it as personable as you want to, or as like however matches your style. So you can see I did poke a hole with the dowel, and I'm just going to get a couple of sticks and then match them up. I wanted the straighter sticks kind of all lined up together so that way they weren't going like several different directions. You can see I'm just going to kind of stick those down in, and then I'll trim them off where I feel is a good spot to trim them. So on the next layer of egg that will go on, I'm just poking a little bit of a hole on it, making sure that those sticks will go in fairly easily. And then I'll use some hot glue to make sure that that egg will stay and it's not going to go anywhere or anything like that. I'm making two topiaries, one with 3 layers to it, one with 2 layers. So I'm just going to copy the same process on each of my topiaries on each layer. Obviously, the top layer on each topiary is not going to have anything coming out of the top of it. So you just need to make sure that you're putting your sticks into the bottom of it as you place it on. One thing you can do is place a little bit of Spanish moss. I do have my eggs fit securely onto the pot so they're not raised up, but you could do that. You just want to make sure you're not going to be able to see, especially where my pool noodles are bright blue. I don't want to see those, so that's one reason I covered them in the Spanish moss. Now here's where I'm securing my base egg to the terracotta pot. But again, if there was any like openings or gaps or anything, I would not want to see that blue pool noodle. I do on these bigger styrofoam eggs, I had a barbecue skewer that goes all the way through, and then I placed my sticks around the barbecue skewer just to give it a little bit of extra stability. With the smaller eggs on the 3-tiered topiary, it's not as big of an issue because the eggs aren't that heavy, but these styrofoam eggs, the bigger they can be, or the bigger they are, they can be a little bit, you could lean to one side or the other with the weight. And so I felt like it needed that barbecue skewer in the middle. Now I'm using my heat tool just to clean up any hot glue webs, but look at how cute these look. You guys, these are so beautiful. And I've seen these in stores for like $50 and up. I mean, they're just, it cost me just a couple of dollars and a little bit of time. It was such a fun project, and I think these are a beautiful addition to your decor. I love a good topiary in my decor, and to have them kind of be more for spring and Easter, I think these are absolutely perfect. What do you think? Would you guys try to make these? I have this little house shape that I picked up on clearance at a little store here we have here in town. Now I know, and look, it was like $1.20 or something like that. It was normally $8. So I got a pretty good deal on it. But you can find these house shapes at Dollar Tree. You can cut your own out of wood, thrifted, lots of fun places. But I do love having these little houses. They're so popular in your decor, and I think that they're just kind of a fun little shelf sitter, a little addition to add. So I'm just going to take off the tags on the back, and then the front had this cute little dog on it. It was, you know, more for like a dog lover. Have this be a lesson to you, though, to check those sections of the clearance areas. And even though maybe you don't have a dog or you don't need something that says how much you love your dog, it's a perfect shape to make into something new. Now I picked up this stencil at Hobby Lobby. You could see I got it for 90% off. It was 22 cents. I love to look for stencils because it's so fun to use them in different things of decor. So I'm just kind of trying to fit this on a little ski wampus on my house here. I did give a fresh coat of paint to the house, so I was working with a nice crisp surface. And then I'm just I picked a nice blue color. I felt like this is going to match my home. I just love a good blue and white stencil job. And so I'm just going to pounce up and down with my stencil brush. Some people mentioned swirling motion would work well. This was a very delicate stencil, so I did just kind of stick with the pouncing up and down. But just holding it with my fingers, it didn't have to be perfect because I'm going to distress this pretty good, but I wanted it to be as good a job as I could do. I love a reveal on a stencil. I think it turned out perfectly. I love kind of the asymmetrical way to the design. Now I want this to be kind of faded. It is a darker blue, and I just wanted a really worn look. I love that look, but obviously you could leave this just plain if you wanted. You can see how much I sanded it back. That's just a matter of personal preference, but I think that it looks just like something that's aged and beautiful, and I just love it. Now I'm taking a finger dauber and I'm just putting it in some antiquing wax. A baby wipe would work great to do this. However, I found these finger daubers in at Hobby Lobby, kind of where the distressing ink is, and I've seen a lot of creators use them. I've never seen them at the craft store before, so I picked some up, and I actually kind of like them a little bit better than a baby wipe, especially since you can kind of rinse them and use them again. So haven't used them with the inks yet, but I do like them with the antiquing wax. And I think that using the antiquing wax around the edge is just going to give this a little bit of definition and add another layer of some character to this piece. This is the completed house. I think it's so cute. I contemplated putting like a little hole in it for like a birdhouse, but I ultimately decided not to. I just thought the simplicity of the piece to use in your decor was so nice the way that it was. It's something that kind of is a basic or a staple piece that you can have switch out with different seasons or different vignettes. It's so cute displayed with this bird, but I think that it would be so fun on a tiered tray or something. What do you guys think of this? Are you guys ready to start decorating for spring? Have you already started your spring crafting? I'm so excited to be doing spring crafts. I love all of the different seasons when they come and you get to have that freshness with trying new seasons of crafts. However, there's just something about spring that just brings that happiness and joy of anticipation for all of the warm, sunshiny days ahead. I just love it. I love that this year we get a long season for Easter. Easter doesn't happen until the latter part of April. And last year it happened so early, so I feel like this year we really do get a lot of fun time to do different decorations. You could even separate spring and Easter if you wanted and do different ones for both. But it was so fun creating these DIYs that would kind of go through the entire season. Did you have a favorite today? I would love to know which one it was. I would have a hard time deciding. I love each of these in their own respect, and they're all so different but yet so fun. And I'm so excited to use them in my decor. Thank you so much for joining me today, you guys. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you liked the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.